Hey.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. It's so good to meet you, like not in person, but like
Right. Not in person, but in person.
yeah, exactly. It's live, it's real.
Right.
Oh my God, I love it. I'm so excited for this, honestly.
Yeah, me too.
I think it's gonna be so fun.
Awesome.
We have 4 people total, I think, plus me.
Oh.
So we have a good group. So it gets to, I
Okay,
guess, meet some fellow people.
Nice. Are you here in New York?
Yeah, I'm in Brooklyn. I'm in Bushwick.
Oh, nice. I'm in Brooklyn too.
Where in
But
Brooklyn?
I'm not sure what part this is, but I'm by like Nostrand.
Okay, no, she runs through a couple areas, but you're more done. Hey, Malka, what's up?
Nothing. What's going on, girls?
Hey, Malka, this is Mason. Mason, Malka.
Hi,
Hey
nice to
girl.
meet you.
You too.
Whatever you're drinking looks delicious.
I got a juice today earlier.
Uh-huh.
And it's like apple, cucumber, pineapple, spinach. It's mad good.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, healthy.
Like I need to go get one of those in a second.
I almost bought a juice.
Starting off with the juice.
It's like COVID's killing me. I like need.
My other option was to go to the donut store.
Okay.
I'm in the Bay Area right now, and like the Oakland and San Francisco are really known for like donuts and stuff. So I should go get a donut. But now that I've seen Mason's juice, to choose better.
I love it. I know you're gonna have to give me some like Oakland advice because my little brother just moved there like recently.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm like out there a good amount to see him, but like he doesn't really know where the hell to go either.
I get it. Yeah, a lot of stuff is still closed. California's been hit pretty hard, which I think our numbers are even like either comparable to New York's or surpassing New York's, but California has been on some other stuff. So when stuff opens up, I'll definitely pass that on to you.
Yeah, absolutely. And Mason, how long have you been in Brooklyn?
I don't live here. I'm just like visiting here in Brooklyn, but I live in Manhattan, but like uptown. So in like Dyckman.
Yeah.
If you know that area.
I'm not super familiar. Like I know of it. Like I know.
So I'm up there.
Okay. Got it.
Gotcha.
Hey, Kristen.
Hi, how are you?
Good. I'm so excited to meet with everyone, guys. This is so cool. Kristen, we have Malka and Mason as well on the line. I think we're waiting for one more too.
Cool.
So we'll just wait a few minutes. And Kristen, remind me where you're located.
I'm in San Francisco, so it's actually 8 a.m. right now.
Oh my gosh, hey, I'm in Oakland.
Oh!
Hey, boo.
Hey!
It's right across the bridge. I'm actually going to be in San Francisco later on today.
Oh, nice. I was in Oakland last night.
Really?
Yeah.
I was telling Laura that we have to like figure out where to like tell her to go because everything is kind of like closed down.
Oh yeah, totally.
Yeah. So I mean, unless you have some friends who are throwing a really nice COVID house party, like there's nothing to do just yet.
Totally.
Okay, so it looks like guys, y'all are very familiar with Talia. Talia is like my absolutely amazing community digital strategist. I don't even know. She's like we had so much trouble figuring out what her title would be just because she does fucking everything. And she's good at fucking everything. So she's kind of giving me cues here as far as like people getting in. So a few people might be late, which is totally fine. But I want to go ahead and get started since we're all here, and I'm just so excited to get this going, right? So I want to start with, I guess how the lay of the land, like how kind of I plan this going. First, kind of talking about tattoo culture questions, right? And just like stuff to get some conversation and discussion going. These questions kind of specifically center around how you establish the artist relationship and kind of what that is like, right? And then after that, we're going to go into a little bit more about inclusion and diversity within the tattooing industry, since that's such a huge part of Tattd and who we are and our mission, right? And a lot of proactive initiatives that we're going to be doing throughout our lifetime is going to center around that. So I do kind of want to be a central, I guess, voice of that. So I do want to have that discussion too. And as we go on, essentially, if you want to answer the question, you can just shout it out. If you like want to raise a hand, however is like easiest to you. If you want to say in the chat, like, hey, like I have a, like me next, or whatever it is, it just kind of like let it flow. You know what I mean? So feel free to sort of speak up and chime in and, you know, make it really casual, make it really, really chill and fun. I want to start with, I guess, a little icebreaker. So if we'll go around the room, I know we like quickly got acquainted. Your name, a little bit, like a line or two about who you are, where you're from, or what you do, just like whatever your, you know, quick elevator pitch is to introduce yourself. So I guess I'll start. I am the founder and CEO of Tattd. I'm originally from Austin, Texas, but I've been here in New York for 11 years now. Getting old, but that's fine. And I come from the tech world, I come from the tech startup world, but tattooing is such a passion of mine. So I'm so excited to be able to sort of merge those two loves of mine with Tattd. Malka?
Mason, you want to go or you want me to go?
Yeah, I'll go next. So,
Okay,
hey, I'm Mason. I am a model, actress, and then I also like personal chef on the side because I'm really into helping people transition from like eating a whole bunch of meat to a vegetarian, vegan diet, and leading them that way to where they won't need meat anymore and they can sustain themselves. So that's like a big thing that I'm working on. But yeah, I'm in New York, been here 5 years. I'm originally from Virginia. I have a 3-year-old daughter almost. And
Big
yeah,
girl.
that's a little bit about me.
I'll go next. My name's Malka X, and I'm from Atlanta, Georgia originally. I have been in California for a little bit over a year, but I'm transitioning back to Atlanta. I'm a body art broker. I do tattoo referrals for a couple of artists. I am in a relationship with a tattoo artist. She's amazing. She's based out of Atlanta. She works at Atlanta Inc. I'm also a crown tattoo pageant queen for the Due South Tattoo Expo in Biloxi, Mississippi. I'm competing next year for Miss World Inc. April 2021. So everybody keep their fingers crossed for me as far as that. And I also, in addition with my partnerships with Laura and Tattd, I run a page with Angel Rose, who's a tattoo artist based out of LA, but she recently transitioned to a different state. She recently moved to Utah, but we co-run Dark Skin Tattoo Tips page together, which is very similar to like the thing Laura was talking about as far as like the diversity goals with Tattd. Our goals are specifically being a resource for people of color who have had challenging experiences with being tattooed.
Hi, I'm Kristen. I'm an artist and a model based in San Francisco and LA. I oh sorry, my dog is here. I primarily make collages as like my art medium. I'm a tattoo collector, and yeah, I split time between San Francisco, LA, and New York, and I'm currently in grad school at San Francisco State getting my MFA. I have 1 year left, but I'm probably just gonna transition into modeling once I'm done.
Nice.
I love it. I love it. We have the best of like both coasts for sure in this room, which is great. But I love hearing about y'all's backgrounds. I mean, everyone that we've been corresponding with and building these relationships with are just so like such incredible people doing amazing things in the industry and outside the industry. So it's so cool to hear more about that. let's do a quick softball question, if you will, of what your first tattoo was and how you feel about it now.
Oh gosh, let me start with that one. Let me start with that one. So I was a very well behaved young adult.
Mm-hmm.
My mom did not want me to get. I had piercings at a very young age, but my mom did not want me to get something so permanent at a young age. So I waited till I was 18 to get my first tattoo. I did that. I'm very proud to say that. It's kind of like the tattoo virginity parallels. Like, yeah, I waited until marriage, but I just waited until I was legal age, because all my friends had tattoos at the time, but it was illegal for them to do that. House tattoos, house tattoo parties, all that ridiculous bullshit. But I waited until I was 18, and it was the worst experience of my life.
No.
Yes, it was. I went to a shop in Atlanta, which they will not be named, and they were, number one, it felt very rushed because I still was like trying to work through my concept. I knew I wanted something to symbolize my relationship with the women in my family. I knew I wanted it to have something to do with the movie Steel Magnolias. That's like a really like classic Southern movie that I feel like reflects the dynamic of the women in my family. And so I basically wanted a Steel Magnolia, but I wanted words underneath it. So I was still working through it. And I thought that as an artist that I would, for the artist, that the artist would be willing to like assist me through that because they know best about like how placement and how stuff flows, things like that, stuff that I had limited knowledge on. That wasn't it at all. He was like, what do you want? Apparently it seemed like he was getting more irritated the more I was talking through it. And then we finally just decided on something. And I feel like I did settle a little bit. And then when the tattoo process started, he was literally digging into my skin, guys. Like so much so that my first tattoo is so raised. It's like Braille, like it's literally so scarred. And that was just simply because he lacked the knowledge around tattooing brown skin. Or maybe it was something else, but I like to think it was just a simple lack of knowledge. But yeah, so I do think eventually it will get covered. But for now, I'm keeping it and showing it off as a part of my journey.
Totally. And it is a part of the journey. God, that's frustrating though, since the first one that you got was like so meaningful to you. You know what I mean? So that's been like the best piece on your skin now. And we'll definitely get into like establishing that artist relationship because that's something that's really interesting to me. And it was a great segue since that's the topic of this Tattoo Crime series. What about you, ladies?
My first tattoo was this like bird shoulder cap piece. I got it when I was 22. My parents were really adamant with me, actually. They were like, if you get tattooed before you graduate undergrad, we won't pay for college. So I like wanted like tatted. I wanted to like be like tatted like immediately when I was like 16 or 17, but I'm like also like a Chinese girl from the suburbs. So I definitely like I waited until I was 22 and I'm really glad because when I was 18 all my friends were getting like the 3 seagulls right here and the infinity sign, and like I thought it was so cool at the time. But yeah, I basically on my around like when I was 22 I got like an entire like half sleeve.
It's beautiful.
It is.
That's a really big first piece too.
Yeah.
Who's the artist, Kristen?
Emmy Holler. She's based in Baltimore. Jimmy, I'm sorry. And the bottom part is from T. Lee in New York. Yeah.
Nice. Beautiful piece.
It is.
What was yours, Mason?
So for me, my first tattoo was at 16, but I wanted it at 14. And my mom was like, no, just wait till you turn 16 and then we can talk about it. I was like, okay. So, and I remembered that on my 16th birthday, I was like, Mom, so we can get a tattoo for my birthday? And she was like, what? No. I'm like, Mom, but you said when I turned 16, I can get this tattoo. And she was like, okay, well, what do you want? And I was like, well, I want to get my grandfather's name in a rose. She was like, okay. Like, I knew like she would say okay to that because, you know, it's her dad. And like I was really close to him. So she was like, okay. And we drove around to like 3 or 4 different tattoo shops. And since I was younger, some of them were like, no, you have to be 18. But we did find 2 that allowed like a guardian signature. And the first one just like wasn't giving me the right vibes. Like there's just one artist there and he didn't like sketch anything. You had to like pick from, you know, the book that he had, like the stencils that's already drawn out. And I didn't really see anything that I liked. So I was like, nah, forget that. I remember there was a girl who was in my class, and she was like a girl that was the first who like got a tattoo at our school. So I asked her like, where did she go? And she told me. So we went there, and as I'm talking to the like receptionist about like my concept that I wanted, there's an artist in the back already drawing it up, and I didn't know. And so he comes out to the front. He's like, hey, are you looking for something like this? And I'm like, yeah, like it's cute, it's simple. Because all I really wanted was a rose because he planted like a rose garden for my grandmother. So I was like, yeah, let's just do that. I'll show you. It's kind of covered up, but it's just this right here in this part. And none of this was here. It was literally just like the rose with the stem with slim through it. And yeah, I was 16 when I got it. I felt like a badass. I'm like, yep, I got my tattoo. I'm in high school, like, you know. But I still love it till this day. I've had it, I guess, like almost half my life now. So
see, it's so funny because the difference between your experience and Malka's experience is like just having something that gives a little bit of a shit. You know what I mean? Like that's huge. Which is like so, and that's kind of what I want to talk about, like creating that artist or the relationship with your artist, right? So like how do we go about doing that? And like how do you think in all the tattoos that you've gotten that sort of affects the work actually, the product, the end product?
I think it could be, I think building a relationship can be very difficult, you know, because a lot of artists, especially if they're a well-known artist, it's just about time, you know, so a lot of them may not have the time to build the relationship. One of my closest friends now started off as just a tattoo artist who I admired. Her name is Cake. She's based in Atlanta as well, but she's from Rochester actually. And I spent a lot of time on her page just giving feedback on her work, you know, commenting. And then when I was ready, I, you know, submitted to get tattooed by her. And honestly, I'd say that's when the relationship started. So it is kind of a very interesting, you know, I guess dynamic, if you will, like how you go about building relationships with artists, because some artists, you know, they don't have time. And I feel like you may not be able to build, you know, such a solid relationship until you've been around them a lot. So like maybe now that I'm thinking about it, now that I'm articulating it, there's other ways to do that. Like Cake had art shows. I would show up at the art shows and speak to her. You know, anytime they would have some sort of, you know, shop event or fundraiser, I was there and I was asking to volunteer, you know, and contribute in any way that I could. But I do think that it takes the client to put themselves out there a little bit in order to build that relationship.
Gotcha. I know I never really thought about, I guess like my whole time getting a tattoo, like thinking about, oh, let me build a relationship with the artist. Because for me, I don't think I've gotten tattooed like by the same person. I've gone back to like the same shop, but I've always gotten like someone different. And I guess for me, like, it doesn't really matter too much to me as long as I know, like, you're professional, you're going to do your job right, and I feel the vibe feels right. Like,
Mhm.
I'm all about frequency, the vibe. As long as like that's chill and it's good, and I feel comfortable with you, and I've seen your work, then like for me, like that's good enough for me. And I haven't had the like opportunity or like to know about like tattoo like exposés or like fundraisers or even events that are like open to like people in our community, you know.
Right.
Okay, yeah, I just haven't found like any information or people who are like really like into, you know, tattoos and wanting to like, do the thing for us. So
That makes sense.
mm-hmm.
Yeah, and, I personally, I've had a hard time finding tattoo artists I like in San Francisco, and I travel a decent amount for just for like work, and I did part of undergrad in New York, so I have a lot of friends out there. So I actually pretty much every time I go to New York I get a tattoo. And sorry, my dog is so loud. Jimmy, sorry. Um so I pretty much get a tattoo every time I go. And I get a
Jimmy.
tattoo. Hi, yeah, this is Jimmy.
Handsome man.
Scar.
I get a tattoo pretty much every time I go, and I think I've repeated tattoos with some artists. I think the most times I've had a session with one person is 3 times, going on 4. And um especially like as I'm starting to fill up my arms, I'm trying to be really mindful of who I get tattoos from, because I'm going through the space on my body really fast.
Yeah, I know. I have that in the back of my head as well. You know, yeah, and it's interesting because even if it's not like a piece that requires a ton of sessions, I still think there is like a little bit of a moment in time to maybe not create a relationship, but at least a rapport, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
I think if there's that personal connection and you kind of like that energy and you get each other, they'll automatically move into that kind of giving a shit column. You know what I mean? Even if it's just like I feel like I've always tried to just like speak to them in a very familiar way. Like, yo, what's up? This is kind of what I want. What do you think? This is kind of crazy. Well, like, what if we do this? You know what I mean? Like something that like makes them feel like I'm like a human and not sitting there like I'm not this piece on the book that I chose or whatever it is. That's helpful. And it's just it's so important to me. And then of course, like if you're like someone that's gonna have to come and do a lot of work on your body. It's funny, whenever I was getting this like Frida Kahlo that I have right here, this was a 3 sitting, I guess, piece. And by the 3rd time, I could tell that the work was changed because we knew each other and it had been, you know, because you just sit there and you talk, right? If you're there for 5 hours, you know what I mean? Like, what else are you going to do, right? You're not on my phone, really. Like, you know what I mean? I'm going to sit there and, like, chat up this person. And by the end, like, as I was like, hey, so what if we move this here? And, like, what about this color? She started to do what I was saying without me having to describe too much because she kind of knew me. You know what I mean? Right. So it was, like, so interesting to see that. And it honestly, like, the top looks kind of different from the bottom, and there's, like, slightly different coloring. And, like, stylistically, it kind of wraps a little bit differently in a way that I actually like better. So it's interesting that, like, after kind of getting to know me better, it was a different tattoo, you know? Which I'm sort of interested in, all right, so how can we foster that all the time? And you know what I mean, in all the tattoos that we get. And then it's also interesting from a perspective, like, of an artist, you know what I mean? Like, they're exactly that. They are artists, you know what I mean? So, like, understanding what makes them tick and, like, you know, how they became an artist and what their background is and what they're really passionate about in the tattooing culture is something that, like, I find interesting because I do feel like it's an energy exchange, you know what I mean? Like, I will always know who tattooed my body, you know what I mean? Like, I will always know, like, their names. I will always remember that moment type of thing. So kind of opening up that space, I think, is really interesting. What would be your very best tattoo experience? Not necessarily tattoo, like, I like this one the most, but the experience because of the artist, because of the shop, or because of your time of life that you're in, or whatever it is. What would be that just, like, best experience that's most memorable?
My favorite tattoos. My favorite experience was actually getting my hands tattooed because
Oh,
there was so much trust involved in all of it, and I think I ended up having 4 different people do work on my hands. So it was really about like being strategic and honest about where I wanted things placed. And I think the thing with the hands is that it's like it like and most of my hands were all freehand. So it was like being with people, it was just like you just like had to say like, no, I absolutely hate this, or oh, I absolutely love this. And I think in terms of like collaboration, it was really nice.
there's a lot of
Yeah, I think,
right.
yeah, I completely agree with what you're saying as far as like the collaboration. I think that is the ideal situation. Artists that aren't, similar to the experience Mason had, where it's like, nope, here's the stamp book, and pick one. But it's like I'm very interested and invested in what you see for yourself, but also me as an artist, I want to contribute my vision to it as well. I think collaboration is the perfect way to describe it. I think going back off of what you were saying as far as just we want somebody to just give a shit. I honestly feel like as a person, but also as an artist, you either have it or you don't. You either give a shit or you don't, and that I feel like is what clients and consumers need to understand, that it's not necessarily about like, oh well, I just don't know enough about them, like, or we're not that well acquainted. There's sometimes they're just not that person, or that's just not their personality. That doesn't make them wrong.
Right.
That just not make them the artist for you if you're looking for somebody to give you a more personalized experience. Yeah.
That's true. Yes. I feel like I've definitely met those 2 types of artists for sure.
Yeah, definitely. One is going to be willing to create with you, and one, I mean, it goes as far back as like, definition or labels of like tattooer versus tattooist versus tattoo artist versus illustrator or just artist, whatever they like to be called. A lot of times that speaks on the way that they conduct themselves also, because I know tattoo artists who are just really good at tracing, and that's it, and they can replicate something to the T and it looks outstanding. And then I also know artists who freehand only. I know artists who can do a combination of the two. It's all about finding the person that sits well with your soul and the experience you're looking for.
Right, I hear that. That makes sense. It's almost like if you are educated enough about what there is out there, then you can figure out what it is you want and find that person. But it's hard if you like don't know stuff like that. Like you don't know the freehand world or like all the different styles. You'll just see someone's portfolio and be like, yeah, they can do what I need. You know what I mean? Type of thing. So like that's like the learning curve, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. But definitely as far as like the ideal or the best tattoo situation or scenario, would definitely be something where I felt included in the collaboration. And like we said, we've reiterated time and time again, that does take some rapport building in order to do that.
Exactly. No, I like the idea of collaboration just because, whenever I have with my artists, they do have an expertise in here, so it's not only me. And so, they'll sit there and say, okay, I know you want that, but that's going to fade in exactly 1 month or whatever. It's going to look really dark right here, like it's because it'll last for years and you won't have to get it retouched, or like, if you put all this together, it's going to look like a blob from far away or something, like you know their craft, so being able to kind of match those visions, like that's kind of the whole point of it. I think that's what really makes things
100%. 100%.
Yeah, exactly. I love that. It's so funny because I think everyone has like some really, really different experiences, but also like common threads in the, getting tattooed or tattoo lover experience, whatever it is. And I think that's also what I love about TattdTalks. So, whenever we had a photo shoot here in New York, and we had some people come out, and we're definitely going to have another one, and we're going to do some more cities too. So stay tuned for that, ladies. But a lot of the questions that I got was around what is TattdTalks like? What is this really about? Like, what is this for? Why are we doing this here? You know what I mean? Like, what is the point of this community? What is the expectation here? And it really is to stay true to the tradition of tattooing. That the tattoo community is close knit, and it's about people. You know what I mean? So it's not about an app transaction. And I am building an awesome app, and it's going to be a great innovative technology, and hell yeah, you know what I mean? It's going to change the game. But I don't want to lose that people aspect. Like, that would break my heart. So that's really why I'm bringing together like Team Tattd and the Tattd ambassador. And there's some tattoo collectors and there's some tattoo artists, but it's everyone that really cares about the industry and really cares about participating in it. So that's really why I guess we're all here. I should have started with that. But, that kind of sets the
stage. For sure. One of the things that that got me on board with Tattd initially was the, I guess the core value of people and building relationships. Sorry, the trash is being picked up outside. I think, bringing it back to like what you were saying, the traditional practice of tattooing, and that has to include, seeing the person as a whole. I love the fact that, Tattd, you can, search based upon like the typical things like the, a keyword or a certain image or, a certain location or budget, but also just what you're doing as far as making sure that all people, all cultures, all, orientations, genders are, included in that. That's who we are. You can't just cater to like one side of a person, and that's honestly going to make it such a unique experience for people when they engage with this app. So I'm super excited about that.
I know. I feel so passionate about that piece of it, honestly. I think that impact, as far as like, when Tattd, blows up, that part of the impact is so much more important to me than the app being a hit, than having users on it or whatever. You know what I mean? It's really actually having a huge voice to push forward that value and making sure that everyone that it's inclusive and that it's diverse and that everyone knows that like this is for them. Tattooing is for them. Tattooing is for you if you're trans or queer or a color or a woman or a man or whoever it is. You know what I mean? So I want to embody that so much. And it's funny, and I think I was telling you about this, Malka, but I always knew that was going to be a huge part of my mission. I didn't know that I was going to have people reaching out to me like, wow, I need this. We need this voice. Like, I didn't know there was that kind of active discrimination within the industry, that this voice is proactively necessary. I always knew I was going to have that value and that was going to be a piece of Tattd, and now it's kind of overcome the company, and I love it in a great way. You know what I mean? Where it's like, okay, wow. I had people reaching out to me wanting to work for me for free because they were like, I love exactly. Which is like kind of crazy. You don't even have to watch it. But and it's a learning process for me as a founder of like, okay, where is the need and how can I serve this community better? Because it's exactly like you're saying, Malka. Like, for me, it's about the people. Without the people, like, all the rest is completely useless. So that's really, really what matters to me. So I guess transitioning into that piece of it. I mean, have you all personally experienced moments of not feeling really comfortable in the tattooing community, or seeing or hearing about some discrimination in that?
I have definitely I've put down deposits for people and then just had a really like weird experience with someone. Once I put down I won't name the artist, but I put down a deposit for someone who from Germany who was guesting in San Francisco. And then I met her and saw that she was a white person with dreadlocks, and I was like, I'm sorry, we can't work together.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
At least you got it before actually having to have an experience that you weren't
Yeah.
excited about. I hear that.
Yeah. And I've had instances when I was younger about just like really just saying yes to everything and not giving it like enough thought.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. And like I think I've just had to learn to be really firm in what I want.
Yeah, I hear that. I think I got a tattoo that would look really different if I wasn't young and it was very mansplained to me how tattooing works. You know what I mean? Like that happened to me for sure, where I was like, okay, so here's the vision. I want this, here are the photos. And he was like, no, that can't be done. And I was like, oh no, that can't be. And he's like, no, that's not how this works. You know, it was my first big piece, so I kind of looked like a little bit of a novice. And it was just like a very, I don't know, testosterone filled type of room in this tattoo studio that I was at. And I was kind of like, oh, maybe that's not how that works. Okay, well, I guess we'll do it how he can sketch it. And like, I didn't realize that whenever he said like, that can't be done, he means he doesn't have the skill set to do it. Those are two different things. But, you know what I mean? That's not it. Malka's having some technical issues, but she'll join us. Mason, have you experienced anything like that?
And I've been thinking. So I remember. So after I got like my first 2 tattoos, which I was like underage, so my mom was with me. But once my mom was like, "No, I'm not supporting you anymore with you getting your tattoos," and I was like, "Okay." So one of my friends was like, "Oh, I know a guy. Like, you know, this is what he did on me." I was like, "Okay, it's decent, whatever." So I went to him with like this idea that I had. And he's just like, "Yeah, cool. And when he showed me the sketch, and I was young, I was like 17. And so I'm just like, it's okay. But I don't even know why I let him tattoo it on me, because it just wasn't what I wanted. But I was just like, I'm here. I'm just gonna do it. I'm here, whatever. And then as soon as it got done and I saw it, I was like, why? Why did I do this?
Oh no.
And it was just like, it wasn't bad, but it's just like, it just wasn't good. And it looked like a trash tattoo. Like, it looked like a jailhouse tattoo to me.
Oh,
like,
God.
to me, that's what it is. And I was just like, no. So I went, how long did I go with this tattoo? If I was 17, 18, 19, I went like 3 or 4 years, and I was like, no, I need to get this covered. So I ended up finding a really good artist in DC who found this shop, went to him. He was great. And he gave me, I went to him with the idea of what I wanted. And he was like, okay, we can definitely do that. And we got the outline part done. But then I was just like, okay, and I'm in college at this time. So I was only able to go for like the first session. And I was like, yeah, I'll plan the next 2. But here we are years later, and I still just have the outline. But I'm satisfied with the outline because it looks so good. And it covers up what the previous dude fucked up.
Oh, nice.
So, yeah, so in that aspect, like, I'm happy. But other than that, I'm just like, eh. And I remember it was him, and then I went to, what was it, maybe like a year later, I did like another house call tattoo. And after that second time, I was like, no more house tattoos. No more. But this one's, I got them done like on my fingers. And like, I'll even show you, like, this trash.
Oh.
Like, what is that anymore? And then I had like one here, and that completely faded. And then he gave me like this one. And even that's kind of faded. I was just like, no, I'm not doing this again. And I was like, why did my friends let me go to these like not so good? Like, I don't know. But I learned my lesson after that. And I was just like, I'm just going to shops that are like recommended to me as well.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. It's so hard. I mean, how do you usually, if it is like kind of a new person or whatever, that like communicating your vision, you know what I mean? Like explaining what, especially if
right.
it's custom work, and not necessarily like something out of a book. Like, do you just have a conversation? Do you have like a lot of photos? Like,
Oh, okay. So for me, sometimes I've like drawn out like some of my own tattoos. So I've given that to the artist and they've like tweaked it, you know? And so from that, so like this piece, like I drew out like these roses and like this girl. And she pretty much just like did exactly that. And
but
I
you
just
do
was like,
that.
I want her. Yeah, and I just had her tattoo it on. Yeah, and I was like, I want her holding a heart in her hand. And she was like, okay, cool. But she drew like a real heart. And I was like, no, I don't want that. I was like, just like, like a heart, like a heart shape. And she's like, okay, fine. Like she went back, fixed it. Yeah. And
That is so funny.
sorry, I kind of like forgot what
I think she's having technical difficulties.
I'm rambling.
Can you hear me, Kristen?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. I guess it's me.
Yeah, it's between us.
I like an idea of what I want as like to me and sketching out what I want. Oh, no.
What was that last part? We're kind of losing you a bit.
Hello?
Wi-Fi issues with Mason.
Oh no. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Now we can, yes. What was that last part then?
I said so I'll go in like with my own concept, like have it drawn out, or I'll like talk it through with them. I'm trying to think what I have that I might have said. Oh yeah, I have like really like small tattoos that I got when I first moved out here to New York. And I was like, yeah, just something simple. Like I want like a lightning bolt, but I don't really know where I want it. And she like looked at me. She's like, oh, why don't you just like put them on your knees? And I'm like, I like that. Let's do that. But yeah, cool. I think majority of my tattoos have been from me drawing them and then presenting them to the artist. And then they kind of like, they'll take that and also put like their own little flavor into it.
I wish if I was at all able to do that, to sketch anything that wouldn't look like absolutely ridiculous, I would so do that. I feel like that's the best, What about you, Kristen? What's like your process?
I mostly let other people design my tattoos. I actually have a degree in painting. So I'm like, I know how to draw to the point that Facebook will recognize the people I've drawn in portraits and tag them automatically. And
amazing.
I'm just so like up and down with my own art that I like try to put my spin on it in placement, especially because I do model. So I was sometimes like, I just like did a shoot in LA and I got like a preview shot back and I was like, oh, I need a little filler on my arms just to keep it really balanced, because I'm at a point where I like almost have sleeves, but I have like I just have like a lot of space to fill. So I'm mostly at this point think about, because I have like maybe like 50 tattoos, so I've gotten like so many I've wanted, but I need to focus on being like a balanced composition so I don't like hate them all in totality in one day.
That makes sense. No, I hear you. I usually go the like tons of inspo photo route, I guess, since I can't draw for anything. Hey, Malka! Yes, we have the whole crew back, almost maybe not. Technical difficulties are the worst. Okay, we can see you, but you might be muted. Oh. I know she like joined last minute. She has like some family obligations today, so she's really working hard to get here with us, which is so nice. Oh. So I guess going back to a huge piece of Tattd's mission, right, which is the diversity and inclusion piece. You know, in your opinion, like, where does that problem root really? Like, is it with the individual artists? Like, do you think it's fostered in the studios? I think you're muted, Malka, but let me see if I can unmute you. All right, we'll see if you can join. Okay, so the issue of discrimination within the tattooing community. I mean, I've heard of it in, you know, almost all sort of walks of ways to be discriminating, from people of color to women to trans to body types to all of the above, right? As I'm speaking more of the community, like, it looks like the only way that they don't discriminate is in the way that they discriminate. So I'm just kind of curious, like, you know, in what you've seen in the conversations you've had, where might that root, aka where does it need to be addressed the most, right? So is it in the individual artist? Is it fostered in the studios, or is it just the kind of the tattoo culture at large that really is where this change needs to begin? I don't know if you have opinions about that.
I don't think I've ever really thought about it, you know?
Yeah.
Because I think from like personal experiences, I don't think I've like experienced maybe like discrimination or someone like not wanting to work with me. But I do remember I had an experience with a girl that I collaborated with, and she made like this beautiful piece, and then we didn't get far. We only got like the outline done, and then she went MIA on me. So I hit her up and was like, hey, like, I'm ready for like the next session. Like, when do you want to get started? She's like, yeah, let me just see what my schedule looks like. She kept giving me the runaround, and then she just stopped responding back. And I was reaching out to her like, hey, like, if you don't want to finish your piece, just let me know. Like, I'm reaching out, like, just let me know if you don't want to do your work anymore.
Yeah.
And I haven't heard back from her. So with that, I'm just like, well, what was that all about, you know?
When was that?
This was in like 2018 when this happened. And it was with like an artist here in New York too.
Yeah.
I said I would reach out to her one more time, and if she didn't, then I'm putting her on blast. Because I'm like, you shouldn't. For me, it's like, why'd you do that? And I don't want that to happen to somebody else.
Totally.
So, yeah.
Can you all hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, good. I'm sorry about that. I was like, of course, technology would ruin this today. So, Laura, could you repeat the question? I feel like I came in at a perfect time. Are we talking about discrimination?
You did, Malka. Yes. So, and this is a question, it's a little bit selfish because I, as a founder, want to know where to put my energy. So the question is, wait, can you hear me now?
I could hear Mason perfectly, and then now I can't.
Can you hear me at all? Or is it maybe a little too late? Me and Kristen are good to go.
No, I can't hear anything. Yeah.
Put it in the chat. This is genius. I should have been doing this the whole time. I don't know why I'm not doing this. Did you see this chat happen?
Yeah.
Oh, wait, I just heard something.
I feel like Malka's gonna have like a big answer too. They're like working, like, you know what I mean, for in therapy and stuff like that.
I don't know if this works for you, Laura, but I could call you and then you could put me on speaker since y'all can hear each other.
Let me see. Let me text Malka real quick.
Yeah, I think that might be best. No, I can't, but maybe that's because I'm on my phone.
Let me see if I can.
I feel like Mason is the only one I can hear.
You can hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm on mute. I'm sorry, my dog is barking.
And I can hear you too.
It's just me?
But I can't. Yeah, that's so weird.
That's so odd. Mason, do you want to ask the question for Malka?
Say, do I want to what?
Will you ask the question for Malka if she can hear you? Why not?
Oh, yeah, you can hear me. So the question is, in your opinion, where does the bulk of this problem lie? With the individuals? Is it fostered in the studios, the tattoo culture at large?
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you for that, y'all. It takes a village.
Right.
So I think that it is. I think it's fostered in the culture, and I don't think that is just only a tattoo problem. I feel like that's, as we've seen in these past couple of months with Black Lives Matter movement and all the other crazy stuff that's happening in the world. There is a lack of knowledge around tattooing people of color. And it can come off as, and it shows itself as, it kind of is a form of discrimination, really. Like, when I feel like a lack of education can manifest itself as a form of discrimination. So no, I wouldn't ever point my finger at I have met certain people who, have, bias and prejudice around certain, groups of people, whether it be queer people, Black and brown people. But I do think that it's a more of like a nationwide or even global issue. And once those myths are, we were talking about tattoo myths, Angel and I, the other day on Dark Skin Tattoo Tips page. I feel like once those myths are passed on, and after generations, it's kind of hard to, let them go. So we have to do a lot of work now to show people that, like, no matter who you are, you can have excellent work.
Absolutely. And should feel welcome to walk in and ask questions. And I get a lot of inquiries, I guess, from queer men, funny enough, that are just like, I don't want to deal with this very masculine dominated, because it is a masculine dominated industry for sure, as is tech. So here I am. But who feels like very, very uncomfortable. And that to me is just an absolute tragedy, because I love tattooing, and I think it is exactly what you're doing. It's a form of therapy, Malka, and like, it means a lot to people. It means a lot to their identity, and it means a lot to their self-expression. And if that is diluted for people who don't feel comfortable with an artist, that's so unfortunate to me. I wanted to give you a chance to chat, Kristen, if you had some thoughts on that too.
Totally. And I'm definitely like, I am really active. Like, I know I spoke about like not like explicitly not getting tattooed by a white person with dreadlocks. Like, I and I know some people, like, I try to be really attentive about like seeing an artist on Instagram and seeing whose photos that they post. And if they like really heavily edit something, or if they like don't show fat people. And especially because I mostly travel for my tattoos, I definitely rely a lot on word of mouth and Instagram. And I've had like I've only really had a couple bad experiences and like mom and pop shops who like are like really like American traditional, basically, where someone will just like, yeah, I don't know, like, I definitely try to go to places where I feel like safe. I've only ever gotten, out of the 50 tattoos I've only actually been tattooed by men twice. Like, I mostly get tattooed by women or queer people.
I love that. I know.
I think that's wonderful, Kristen. I think that, until we are able to get to a place where we can speak freely about the challenges that we're seeing without, people getting offended, you have to continue to choose yourself. And if that's the space that you feel most comfortable in, you know, that's where you need to be, because at the end of the day, it's going to be a very unique experience for you. And you are the one who's carrying this work for the rest of your life. I'm not sure if you all have ever heard of Doreen Gardner. Her Instagram is Flesh and Fluid, but recently she made a post asking people to call out racist tattoo shops, and that was a very interesting post. You know, people were literally adding pages and like name dropping and saying so and so at this shop, and like explaining their experiences, which number one, it was a super interesting way of going about it, but also I feel like there is that it's a very brave thing that people were doing, and also I think it's a learning opportunity for other people who are reading these comments to be like, oh wow, that's, you know, that offended them. I didn't even see it like that. And like, you know, it's a learning resource, if you will. But I love the fact that we are not just allowing the bar to stay where it is, and that we are pushing artists, clients, tattoo collectors, everyone to educate themselves in the language and the styles, and, you know, the stuff that's most important, the things that we need in order to be a inclusive community.
Totally. And I think it's so important for us as people who get tattoos to really support people who are socially just
Right.
in the world, and like give our money to those people.
Definitely.
No, I hear you. And for me, a lot of what I've thought about is kind of what you're talking about, Malka, and it's the lack of accountability. You know what I mean? Like Mason, you were chasing down this artist who was treating you like shit, essentially. But there's no HR department. There's no one to hold these people accountable for their actions. So they can be racist all day. What's going to happen? As long as their shop owner doesn't know about it or doesn't care, they're fine. And they keep on moving about their day. You know what I mean? So that it's not like there's a corporate structure or whatever that has any power to make this change. So it really has to happen at the grassroots level with this community, with everyone sort of collectively raising their voice up against things like that, to where, you know, we should definitely live in a world where that type of behavior is just absolutely beyond unacceptable and unthinkable. And, you know, someone would be embarrassed to even like, you know, be that person and be called out on that Instagram post. So, you know, I guess I've always put a lot of thought around that. If, you know, Tattd becomes as big as I hope that it does, you know, like it can't have a little bit of a voice and a little bit of like no one will be involved in my platform that has ever exhibited any behavior like that. You know what I mean? So like, I mean, these people need to be held accountable for their discriminating acts. It's crazy. It is getting to about an hour. It's so funny because like I feel like there's still so much to discuss. There's so many stories and amazing things, but you know, I could talk to you guys for 4 hours, I swear. But before we close out, I guess, is there any other comments or questions or anything you want to throw up to the room? I'm just like so glad that we all, thanks for sending over those links, Malka. I'm so glad we all got acquainted, and I'm so glad to get to know you all even better and hear your stories and hear about your experiences, and just this community. I can't even say how much it means to me, and how special it is to just have you all involved and participate and care and all of that. Like it really, really, really is amazing. So thank you so much. Y'all were promised a sneak peek at the app. So within the next hour, y'all will get an email, and essentially it's going to have a link for y'all to be able to see the app before it launches. So take a look at that. Well, thank you so much. Y'all are awesome, and we'll be in touch soon with more fun stuff and announcements and news and love from Talia and all of the above. So stay tuned for that, and y'all have my direct info, so hit me up with anything and everything all the time.
Yay, perfect. Thank you.
All right. Bye, you guys.